Have you ever seen a live broadcaster who collects things used by the dead? They are called Imu merchants. At this time, the first online fan showed the jade bracelet on his wrist. Do you want a bracelet worn by a dead person? The jade bracelet was red all over, and it seemed to have liquid flowing, as if it was alive. I was shocked. Take off the bracelet quickly, smash it and burn it with fire until it is colorless. If it is 10 minutes later, you will be sucked into a mummy by the jade bracelet. The live broadcast room was instantly flooded with comments. Ah, Anchor, you should check the time when you are joking. It's just past midnight, don't talk nonsense and scare people. The jade bracelet sucks blood. This is a bluff. I have heard the rumor for 800 years. Anchor, how can you, a top student who graduated from a 958 university, still believe it? Why would someone bring things used by the dead? Shouldn't these things be burned with the dead? This bracelet is pretty good. The Anchor collected the small yellow car and I want to buy it. Damn, you dare to buy things from the dead? Tired of living. Everyone seemed to be indifferent to my reminder, playing and teasing each other. My name is Shinlui, I work as a copywriter in an internet company, and I am also a Imu merchant. I specialize in collecting things used by the dead. If the things of the dead are not properly handled, they will become and evil things and bother the living. I was bored, so I started a live broadcast online. Collecting some Imu online can also be regarded as completing the task of accumulating merits assigned by my master. As I was talking, the fan showed his face. He was a middle-aged man. He had a long and thin face, deep eye sockets, and dark blue under his eyelids. He looked like he hadn't slept for 3 days. Anchor, do you want to take this thing? I stopped holding the Buddhist beads, and my expression was solemn. I'll say it again, take off the bracelet, smash it and burn it with fire until it is colorless, and you can save your life. Otherwise. Before I finished speaking, he lowered his head and muttered to himself as if no one was around, this is a family heirloom left by my great-grandfather. It is about 100 years old. My grandfather said that this bracelet can bless my family to prosper for generations and my descendants to be safe. But a year ago, all 108 people in my family died. The cheerful comment area was quiet in an instant, and then the screen was full of question marks. Terrorist incident? Has this live broadcast room started to tell stories? Big brother, don't make a fuss, there are 108 people in the family? Do you think you are the 108 heroes on Liangshanpo? Or do you count the pigs raised at home? I can't stand it anymore, what a damn unfilial descendant. How can you curse the whole family to death just to sell a bracelet? Everyone, go and report him. The man suddenly looked up and smiled, his face was calm, looking at the camera and asked the Anchor, I will sell this jade bracelet to you for 100,000. I shook my head helplessly, I can't take it, it has become evil and recognized its owner. Only the owner can destroy it. When the man heard that I didn't want to buy it, he suddenly lost his calmness just now, and even became a little anxious, I need money, 50,000 is okay? If not, I will borrow 20,000. I slapped the table and stood up, staring at the camera and yelling, if you don't do what I say, you will die immediately, what do you need money for? Damn, I'm scared to death. Anchor, why are you so loud? You scared me too. I just stared at the bracelet for a while, and I felt very uncomfortable. Was this bracelet this color from the beginning? I glanced at the comment area and answered directly, no. My affirmative tone made the man slightly stunned. The color of the bracelet was light green at first, and after a period of time, a trace of blood red suddenly appeared, like a thin line. Then slowly one line turned into two, and the color was like blood dripping into clear water, a slightly turbid light red. After a little longer, the color of the bracelet became darker, and the things inside flowed like water. Someone asked, things? Flowing? What is that? I looked at the time in the upper right corner of the live broadcast, sighed, moved the Buddhist beads with my fingers, and said softly, it's people. In other words, it's the family members of this gentleman who died. The 108 people he mentioned should be counted from the time when the jade bracelet appeared in his family. All 108 people died from this blood jade bracelet. Speaking of this, the man's face was gray, his eyes were dull, and his mouth was slightly open, like a zombie. The jade bracelet on his left wrist was emitting a strange light. As long as you squint and look carefully, you can find that the speed of those things flowing is getting faster and faster, and they are extremely excited. Look, why is this man not moving? Is his internet speed too slow and stuck? Damn, something is wrong. Family members, why is the eldest brother's face getting paler and paler? Like a dead person. Is this a live broadcast effect? Anchor, please speak quickly. I quietly watched the man who was dying bit by bit on the opposite side, and my heart was a little complicated. My master has repeatedly reminded me, good words do not persuade the damned, and mercy does not save people. What a pity for this person, what a pity for this bracelet. Although I don't know the man's home address, I still called the police and let the police worry about it. Back to the live broadcast room, they are still discussing whether this person is dead or alive. Is it fake? This makeup looks real. Domestic horror movies should hire this person as a stylist. It doesn't look fake. It's been 10 minutes, and he didn't blink. Is he really dead? Anchor, let him say something quickly. I don't want to chat with the dead late at night. I typed a reply, dead. The live broadcast room exploded instantly, asking me to call the police quickly. I replied again, I reported it. But some people still don't believe it, the anchor is lying again, and he didn't turn into a mummy. It's just that his face is a little pale, so he should die suddenly from staying up late. Don't promote superstition here and mislead others. I don't believe it either, but it's scary. He really doesn't look good. Uncle Joe's spirit in heaven, please protect me. Seeing them go crazy in the comment section, I turned on the microphone again, hush. I wanted to comfort these scared babies, so I lowered my voice and said, you think he looks like a person, but there is actually no blood in his body, it's all dirt. Before I finished speaking, the camera suddenly blurred and a black shadow appeared. He only showed his lower body, and his clothes were tattered. He approached the microphone and smiled, you are right. The knife flashed, and a cut was made on the man's cheek. Gray sticky stuff flowed out of his skin. It really wasn't blood. Damn, it's really not blood? This color looks like that shit. Too scary. Anchor, are you showing us a horror movie? The comment section was screaming with fear. I stared at the man with a deep look and asked, who are you? He laughed again, and suddenly stretched out a slender big hand, with sickly white fingers, which was a bit scary. He tapped the blood jade bracelet lightly with his fingertips, then pressed the two ends with his thumb and index finger and pulled the bracelet out. Most people need to make their hands into chicken claws to take off the bracelet, then pinch the bracelet with the other hand, gently pass through the widest part of the palm, and slowly take it off. But this person didn't want to touch the man's hand, so he used brute force to pull the bracelet out of his wrist. The hand, which was like clay, was torn off. Although the broken hand flashed by, many people saw it. My scalp numbs. Am I seeing it right? The hand is broken, it must be a burglary, killing for money. This is not suicide, it's murder. I'm going to call the police. The anchor should also call the police quickly. You can't get away from the murder in your live broadcast room. The man quickly disappeared from the camera, and he took the blood jade bracelet. Things are a bit bad. I was about to reply to everyone that I had called the police, and the police called back and said that the person was dead, and asked me to cooperate in making a voice record. I told him directly that he could take a statement and provide them with the video. When the fans heard that I was going to the altar, they asked me to live broadcast the whole process. Early the next morning, I drove to the altar. In the detailed questioning, I learned the specific case, which was a bit weird. The police said that there was no trace to prove that anyone entered and left the deceased's home, and the cameras around the community did not record any strange people. That was strange. My fans and I were not wrong. It was the man with the big white hand who took the blood jade bracelet. I took a shower back to the hotel, put on a mask, turned on my phone and started the live broadcast. Everyone had already squatted and rushed into the live broadcast room as soon as possible. "Anchor, what did the police ask you? Is the man really dead?" I replied, "Dead." "Did you show the live broadcast replay to the police?" "It's too weird." I replied, "I saw it." They were also confused. "Are you kidding us?" I replied, "Am I sick? Are you kidding about this kind of thing?" The anchor did not lie, I can testify. My friend is from Tanching, and the apartment building next to him, the police and ambulance came. The death was miserable, even more disgusting than what we saw that day. "The one upstairs, please tell me more details." I walked to the bed and picked up my travel bag, and took out an old mobile phone from the small bag. I fiddled with it for a while, before returning to the camera. They tagged me in the comments section to see their private messages. I clicked it curiously, and a beautiful blood jade bracelet rushed out of the screen. I was shocked. These hands were obviously a girl's, plump and white, with round and full fingernails, and cute manicures. I noticed that she posted the picture at 8 o'clock this morning. Could she be a college student who could get up at 8 o'clock in the morning? Back in the live broadcast room, everyone was curious whether this jade bracelet was the one from yesterday. I thought it was not such a coincidence, so I didn't care and started the connection today. As soon as I opened it, I connected to a white female college student named Meng Meng. As soon as the beauty appeared, she attracted everyone's attention. "Good evening, Sister Louie," her sweet voice made my ears itch slightly, but what made my eyes itch even more was her left hand. The jade bracelet on her wrist, with a dark red luster. "Oh my God, I'm really scared, it's a red jade bracelet again. It's a sin. Anchor, I suspect you have been screwed. Why do you wear red jade bracelets every day when you connect? It's so scary. Change it. Sister, take off the jade bracelet quickly, it will kill people." I was really confused. Are we trapped in a cycle of horror stories? Ignoring their wailing, I stared at the screen and quoted directly, "This sister, this bracelet on your hand is 1 million, I buy it." The girl was startled, curved her eyebrows, and said, "This bracelet is not for sale." Then, she took out a pair of gourd-shaped earrings from the side, smiled and said to the camera, "Today I want to sell this, Sister Louie, look." I saw that she was deliberately avoiding the topic, so I didn't ask. Squinting my eyes to look at the earrings carefully. "Bring it closer." She did as she was told and moved forward. After I saw it clearly, I frowned and asked, "Where did you get this pair of earrings?" The girl said, "It was a birthday gift from my grandmother when I was a child. She said it could bless me with peace, and I have always kept it by her side, but recently I have been having strange dreams. Someone called my name in the dream. I wanted to answer, but I couldn't make a sound. After waking up, I was exhausted and often fainted." "Anemia?" The doctor said no. She added, "My work and rest schedule is very regular, and there is no such thing as staying up late." I turned my head to pretend to think, but my eyes fell elsewhere. She suddenly touched the bracelet, and the flow of things inside suddenly stopped. I continued, "This pair of earrings is in the shape of a gourd, which has been one of the items for exorcising evil spirits since ancient times. Gourd is homophonic too, and is often used as a feng shui mascot. Gourds can change luck and exorcise evil spirits. Your pair of earrings is a protective item made by your grandmother specifically for you. Don't lose it, and don't sell it easily. Because it is made of hand bones." The commandaria exclaimed, "Hand bones? Is it so scary?" A strong man put his feet into the quilt at this time. "Don't scare me. I am timid. Is the anchor talking nonsense again? Hand bones, human hand bones?" I was calm and replied to the questioning comment, "In addition to humans, are there other animals that call their claws hands?" The barrage was quiet for a few seconds, wondering if there are such creatures in nature. I continued to tell the girl that I am not interested in earrings, but I like the bracelet on your hand. "Can I ask where you got it from?" The girl suddenly looked up and looked straight at the camera, her tight mouth corners slowly curled up. "How much do you want?" I said softly, 1 million. Before she responded, the commandaria started to make a fuss again, outrageous, the last person offered 100,000 yuan to sell it to you and you didn't want it, now you are willing to buy it for 1 million yuan? Are you crazy? Is this the bracelet from 2 days ago? No way. It can't be so weird, right? Oh my god, so scared. The plot is too familiar. Anchor, please censor it. I really admire this group of spectators. I asked the girl, sister, who gave you the bracelet? It was delivered by courier. She suddenly coughed, covering her chest with her hand as if she was not feeling well, her body tilted to the side, and the camera also tilted. The surrounding environment appeared, blue curtains, white long tables, rows of colorful thermoses, as if in a dormitory. I asked, where are you, let's meet. When she heard that I wanted to meet her, she panicked, her face turned pale, and she stammered out a university address. She was not far from me, and I was taking notes when I suddenly heard her scream. She fell on the bedside with a painful look on her face. Her left hand tightly grasped the jade bracelet on her wrist. It hurts so much, the bracelet is so tight. In the picture, the girl's right hand slowly exposed bones from the fingertips to the wrist. It didn't look like she was stabbed or scraped with a knife, but something swallowed it along with the flesh and blood. Fuck, her hand is slowly turning into bones. Am I blind? Help Look at the blood jade bracelet, the color of the blood jade bracelet has turned black. I'm about to vomit. Is this true? The connection on the other side was interrupted. I picked up my backpack and rushed to her university. I opened the door with the dormitory auntie and saw the girl lying on the ground, her body facing up, her face as white as paper, and one arm was skinny and terrifying. The dormitory auntie was so scared that she sat on the ground. I walked over to check her breath, and it was faint. Fortunately, the bracelet didn't stay with her for long, and it didn't take her life. I asked the dormitory aunt to call an ambulance, and then searched for the blood jade bracelet in the dormitory. I didn't find it, it disappeared in front of me again. It seemed to be playing hide and seek, which was a bit interesting. I accompanied the girl to the hospital, waited for her to wake up and asked, and got the details of the jade bracelet. The girl's name is Yan Mengmeng, a sophomore. Last week, she and her classmates had dinner outside the school and met a strange man. The man was very thin, with dark circles under his eyes, as if he was malnourished. The man suddenly came over and asked the girl to borrow money, saying that he had lost his wallet and had no money to pay the bill. Yan Mengmeng looked at the boss suspiciously, and confirmed that the man did not have money, so she helped pay for the meal without thinking much. I thought that I would be fine after getting a thank you, but I saw the man suddenly pulled up his sleeves, exposing his wrist, and pulled out a beautiful red jade bracelet for her. Yan Mengmeng quickly refused, and almost dropped it several times. The man begged, no, please try it on. Yan Mengmeng had no choice but to try it on, and it was unexpectedly beautiful. Even her friends said that she looked very good wearing it. Back in the dormitory, Mengmeng was thinking about the jade bracelet, and she was restless for the next few days. Someone called her name in her dream, she didn't know who it was, and wanted to respond, but some force stopped her from answering. Then one day she woke up and found that one of the earrings on the pillow had a crack. I asked her, how did you find me? Yan Mengmeng showed admiration and said, I am your fan. She didn't watch the last live broadcast, and I looked at her suspiciously. Yan Mengmeng explained that I didn't feel well that day and went to bed. I received the jade bracelet in the morning. My roommate thought it was a gift from a friend, so I took a photo of it and posted it online. The post suddenly became popular. Netizens said that this bracelet sucks blood and will suck people into a mummy. I hesitated for a moment, but still told her that the last person who wore it was dead. Yan Mengmeng's face turned pale again, and her voice began to tremble as she asked, then, will I die? I patted her hand and answered soothingly, no, it won't look for you again. After leaving the hospital, I turned into a small shop and ate a bowl of snail noodles. Finally, I got a reply on my phone, this thing has become evil and will instruct people to do things for it. If you want to catch it, you must lure it. I understand, I need bait. I rubbed my hands and muttered excitedly, then I'm going to go. Just as I was about to put my phone back, I received another message, I will send someone to help you, don't mess around. After returning, I started a live broadcast and reported the progress to everyone. It also revealed that the jade bracelets in these 2 times were the same evil thing. Netizens began to criticize me, since you can save girls, why not save men? Isn't this murder? That's right, the man died miserably. At that time, I said that I would sell it to the anchor for 100,000, but the anchor refused to buy it. Watching the man die and gaining traffic. The 2 saints upstairs, you type on the keyboard to save it. I typed a reply. Haven't you seen it? The skin is cut and the blood is not flowing out. Do you think it can still be saved? The man said that all 108 people in his family had passed away one after another. I went to ask about it. The man moved to the altar a year ago, and the neighbor said that he was the only one. So, who was the 108 people he mentioned? Netizens in the comment area were shocked, there are 108 people in the safe house. Come in quickly. You changed the number upstairs, I am almost scared to death. So, who are the 108 people? Anchor, don't ask us. We are here to see you collect evil things, not to listen to ghost stories. I guess this 108th person is the ghost who died in the blood jade bracelet, and he has been living with him as a family member. A cool breeze blew in from the window. I looked at the screen with a blue light and typed a few words with my fingers. 108 is not a number, it is a code name. During the summer vacation when I was 12 years old, I went to a village with my master to collect evil things. I didn't like to do anything, so I sneaked out to play. I happened to hear the old people in the village chatting, and heard the story of the blood jade bracelet for the first time. In ancient times, people loved jade more than gold. Many officials spared no expense to find jade with pure colors. Among them, there is a kind called red jade, which is very rare. However, a jade shop suddenly started selling red jade, which is bright and is a very pure red color. At one time, it attracted many rich people to buy it. There was a queue every day at the door of this jade shop to buy red jade. Some people also suspected that red jade was hard to find, and it was really strange that there was a long queue at his shop. Someone interrupted, "Dye it." The man was quickly hit by the person next to him, uneducated. At that time, it was all natural jade, so how could there be technology to dye jade? Do you think it is the current technology and hard work? The old man smiled. It's not completely wrong, there are plants that can be used for dyeing. It's very troublesome, and it was not until later generations that it was discovered and adopted. At that time, the simplest method was to use blood to nourish jade. The blood seeped into the jade, and if it lasted for a long enough time, you could get a piece of blood-colored red jade. The person who interrupted opened his mouth and asked, "How to raise it?" The old man said, "There are many ways in folklore. For example, put the jade into the body of animals such as cattle, sheep, and dogs, wait for 2 to 3 years and then take it out. If you are lucky, it will grow blood jade." An idea suddenly popped into my mind and asked, what if we use human blood? Those people were all stunned. They looked back at me and were shocked by my innocent words. The old man knocked his pipe on the sole of his shoe and said, "The ancients believed that jade had spirituality. Putting a piece of jade in the mouth after death can protect the body from decay. After death, the jade slides from the throat into the body, absorbs blood, and slowly the jade will turn into blood jade." I followed up with another question, so that jade shop uses dead people to grow jade? The old man shook his head and said, "He uses living people. Men, women, and even children. Boss Song of that jade shop loves blood jade bracelets the most and makes a lot of money with blood jade bracelets." But suddenly one day he died in his own yard, and hundreds of blood jade bracelets in the shop disappeared. The most terrifying thing is that there are hundreds of skeletons buried under the ground of the jade shop. More than a decade later, the blood jade bracelets appeared in pawn shops, jade shops, small shops, etc. A young lady bought it and wore it for a month, and suddenly died, suddenly. Her death was miserable, as if her blood was drained. Not long after, more than 100 people in her family died one after another, and their deaths were exactly the same as hers. When dealing with the corpses, someone found the blood jade bracelets that fell in the middle of the corpses, picked them up and stuffed them into their sleeves. After the story was told, I grabbed the water cup and took a sip, and saw the barrage become active. I declare that today's story is the most terrifying. I'm going to go to sleep with my parents. Anchor, it's a pity that you don't write novels. It's too immersive. I also have read Jade at home. I'm so scared. What are you afraid of? Who uses blood to nourish Jade now? Psychopath, are you just afraid of this story? Didn't you notice that the blood jade bracelet appeared in the story? The barrage seemed to have been paused, suddenly disappeared, and then appeared again after a few seconds. Ah, the same one? It can't be such a coincidence, right? How can a broken bracelet last so long? Science, prosperity, and democracy. Science, prosperity and democracy. Science, prosperity and democracy. Host, why don't you find a Taoist priest? I always feel that thing is coming for you. Agree. The second time I connected to the blood jade bracelet, this is more accurate than buying lottery tickets. It's not so weird, right? Host, connect again? I listen to advice and prepare to connect for the third time. Before connecting, I saw a comment with an exclamation mark reminding me, Host, there is a person standing behind you. I shuddered, grabbed the water cup and turned to throw it out. But I saw a man in a black Zhongshan suit, with handsome features, fair skin, gold-rimmed glasses on his nose, and his lips slightly pursed, looking at me quietly. I breathed a sigh of relief, reached out to turn off the live broadcast sound, and looked at him. He said he would send someone, but he actually sent himself. Don't you recognize me? The man's voice was cold, but low and gentle. I pulled up the corner of my mouth and smiled softly and said, Senior brother, why are you here? Before he answered, I counted on my fingers, and it had been 3 years since we last met. Blood jade bracelet. He was as frugal as before. Inviting him to sit on the sofa, I took out a bottle of Coke from the refrigerator and handed it to him, only to see him frowning and staring. Sorry, this is mine. Senior brother, wait a moment, I'll make you tea. I quickly took the water to make tea, and then sat down and looked at my senior brother. Li Xuanchu, my master Li Qinglian has a total of 6 disciples. Ranked 3, Li Xuanchu, 8 years older than me, but looks like the youngest. My senior brothers often tease him in the group, baby face. Li Xuanchu never accepts teasing and rarely chats. I occasionally send some evil things to the group and ask them to identify them. He will come out to say a few words when he finds something interesting. Knowing his character, I didn't waste much time and got straight to the point. Senior brother, is this the blood jade bracelet that the master didn't take back as rumored? Li Xuanchu took a sip of tea and put it down, looking up. His eyes were clear and bright. Probably. This was the first time I heard Li Xuanchu answer so ambiguously. Then asked, how to find it out. The first time it was taken away by a man, and the second time it disappeared inexplicably. It's all my fault for going late. Li Xuanchu looked at me and said, it has nothing to do with you. It has become an evil thing and has thoughts. It will manipulate ghosts to do things for itself to make money. I was shocked. Make money? Does it want to become a human as a jade artifact? What's good about being a human? Li Xuanchu didn't say anything, picked up the teacup and drank. I was anxious and wanted to know everything about the bracelet. But I looked at the clock on the wall and it was already 1 a.m. I looked at my senior brother who looked tired and said, Senior brother, the guest room has been cleaned up, you should go to bed early. I sent him into the room and couldn't help but follow him. Senior brother, I will be the bait this time, you help me next to me. No. He suddenly turned around and rejected me. I was about to argue with him when I heard him say, its target is you. Because of what my senior brother said, I slept very uneasy last night. I don't know if it's a psychological suggestion, but I always feel like someone is by my side. I went to the police station with him in the morning and asked someone to investigate the cases similar to men in the past 10 years. The number was as high as 1,000. I, who live in the modern world, can't believe it. Senior brother, are these cases true? Li Xuanchu changed into a casual outfit, and his temperament was elegant like a teacher. He answered me while flipping through the records, really. It's just that these cases are very special and it's not convenient to show them to the public. Is that inconvenient? I don't dare. When I was slacking off at work, I joined a lot of groups about supernatural stories and horror stories. Some people say that the country has a department that specializes in handling special cases, and its whereabouts are mysterious and almost no one knows. I played with it and watched him read the information carefully. Suddenly I remembered the live broadcast that I hurriedly went offline yesterday, and hesitated and asked Li Xuanchu, "Brother, I want to go out and broadcast a live broadcast." "Well, don't go far." He raised his head slightly. I walked out of the police station, walked a little further east, sat down in front of the flower bed, turned on the live broadcast, and 1,000 people entered the live broadcast room in seconds. "Anchor, I thought you were dead, woo woo woo." "You are not dead yet?" I replied, "Are you polite?" "Bah, bah, bah, don't curse me, Louis, isn't he alive and well?" "Master Louis, are you in the human world now?" "There is also the sun, it should be." I replied, because it was a bit noisy outside. I typed a reply. "I'm fine, the person yesterday was my brother." The comments started to go wild. I said that such a good-looking person couldn't be a ghost. "Is my senior brother also a Taoist priest?" "Which Taoist temple is he in?" "I want to go and worship." "How old is my senior brother this year?" "Are you married?" "I'm a little girl." A bunch of old perverts. I asked them if they wanted to know about the blood jade bracelet. The comments quickly returned to the topic. "I want to." "Where is the evil thing now?" "Host, you should collect this evil thing as soon as possible." "It's too scary." "I collected all the jade bracelets at home. I'm really afraid that it will attract the same kind. I haven't spent all my tens of millions of assets. Get out of here, put it in my account and I spend it for you in one day." I squatted on the flower bed and typed slowly, "My senior brother is here to help me. Don't worry, he won't hurt anyone again." "Can you broadcast live when collecting evil things?" "I really want to watch it." "I want to watch it +1. I'm just about to write a supernatural novel, all of which are materials. To start a live broadcast, I have to ask my senior brother if it's okay." I just typed 2 words, and a big white hand appeared in the camera and fell on my shoulder. I almost fainted at a glance. I quickly jumped down the steps and ran a few meters. I looked back and saw a man standing in front of the flower bed. He was wearing a black hat and a white mask on his head, revealing a pair of cold eyes staring at me. The busy street was bustling with people, but the atmosphere at this moment was so cold that it made people tremble. I didn't bring anything to exorcise evil spirits when I came out, and I didn't expect it to find me so quickly. It's just as my senior brother said that its target is me. I swallowed nervously. It's not that I'm afraid, but I don't know how to deal with it. He suddenly moved his body, moved his feet, and walked towards me. I seemed to be frozen, waiting to come over, and suddenly someone called my name. The man suddenly stopped, raised his head slightly, and then turned around and left quickly. Li Xuanchu ran over and pulled me, calling out, "Xiao Lu." I turned around and grabbed my senior brother's arm, and said anxiously, "Senior brother, I saw the man who took the blood jade bracelet." He lowered his head and raised his hand to wipe the sweat from my temples, and asked in a gentle tone, "Did he scare you?" I nodded and answered, "A little." Anyone would be scared by a hand that suddenly appeared on the shoulder. Li Xuanchu touched my head like he did when he was a child, and then said, "Go home and prepare, and take him down tonight." I remembered the live broadcast when I got in the car, and saw that the barrage was asking, "Is the anchor still alive?" I quickly reported that I was safe, alive, and the net was taken down tonight. After returning home, I sat on a chair and watched Li Xuanchu prepare things. Seals, talisman paper, wooden sword, these are not rare magic tools. He packed them and took me out. He brought a bag, but I had nothing in my hands. "Senior brother, it seems that you can't use me much," he said. I pouted, very unhappy. Li Xuanchu smiled and said, "You can drive." I widened my eyes and asked, "Can I only be a driver?" Li Xuanchu's expression suddenly became serious. "Xiao Lu, you can't deal with him." I also instantly understood the danger of this evil spirit collection. He hooked the key and shook it and said, "Okay, I'll cheer you up and cheer you up." On the way, I drove according to the navigation given by Li Xuanchu, and found that it was actually a Taoist temple in the suburbs. I searched on the internet and found that this Taoist temple was built in recent years and is under construction. It has not yet been opened to the public. I asked in confusion, "Why is he here?" Li Xuanchu replied, "I want to become an immortal." I accidentally pressed the wiper, so I quickly turned it off. Li Xuanchu said, "I have read the detailed records of the 1,000 accidental deaths. They all bought blood jade bracelets at a high price, and then died suddenly within 3 to 5 years. The lucky ones found a Taoist priest to solve the problem, and the unlucky ones had no one left in their families. What do these people have in common? They have the same blood type, all Rh-negative blood, which is a rare blood type. No way, a broken bracelet is picky about food?" I hammered the steering wheel angrily, always feeling that something was wrong, and suddenly came to my senses. "But I am not Rh-negative blood, why is it targeting me?" Li Xuanchu didn't say anything, but held his hands in front of his chest, staring at the front, and said in a very light tone, "I want to know too." When we arrived at the place, it was gloomy and dark all around, and there was not even a bird chirping. Li Xuanchu unbuckled his seatbelt and said to me, "Don't be afraid." I nodded heavily. "I am not afraid with my senior brother here." I followed him up the stairs. The Taoist temple was still under repair, and cement, wood and other things could be seen everywhere. Halfway through the walk, Li Xuanchu suddenly stopped and reached back to stop me. I subconsciously grabbed his sleeve. He whispered, "He is just ahead." I whispered back, "Okay." I took out my phone and started the live broadcast, turned off the sound, leaving only the screen. "It's so dark, I can't see anything. My sister is so powerful. I'm so scared. I'm the only one watching the live broadcast at home. Are you sure you're alone upstairs? Maybe there's a room full of people watching with you?" After walking up 100 steps, we arrived at the main entrance of the Taoist temple. I looked inside after Li Sun came out. A man walked out of the darkness. He was wearing a gray Taoist robe, his hair tied into a bun, but one arm was half-sleeved, and the exposed wrist was wearing the blood-glowing blood jade bracelet. This time I finally saw the man's appearance clearly. His face was old and his face was as pale as his hands, which made people feel uncomfortable. He stared at me blankly and said, "So you have helpers around you?" I snorted, "This hasn't been investigated yet. I not only have helpers, but also thugs. Hand over the bracelet, and I'll spare your life." The man smiled grimly. "Immortality?" Suddenly, a light bulb went off in my head. "You are a dead man, a ghost." The ghost snorted, "Not stupid." Li Xuanchu pulled off his backpack, took out the written talisman paper, and began to lay out the array. "Hundreds of years ago, you were doing evil everywhere, and you still wanted to become an immortal. Today, I'll send you off." What a big tone. The ghost smiled grimly and suddenly rushed towards us. Li Xuanchu stood up, pinched his fingers, and shouted at him, "Break." The ghost was instantly fixed, surrounded by golden light, screamed at the top of his throat, struggled hard, and escaped. The hall was dark, and it slowly lit up, with stars and red light like spiritual fire. 1, 2, countless souls appeared behind the ghost, densely packed, tall and thin, men, women, old and children, with blood jade bracelets on their wrists, staring at you like countless eyes. The live broadcast barrage could not see those souls, but countless red lights could be seen, and they were so scared that they screamed. Goosebumps appeared layer by layer. What are those? Red flashing light, blood jade bracelets? Thousands and tens of thousands are too numerous to count. Anchor, why don't you run? What a joke. How can I run away with so many things staring at me? I continued to watch my senior brother's movements, which were neat and clean, so handsome. The ghost was a little overwhelmed by the continuous attacks. At this time, the blood jade bracelet on his wrist suddenly moved, like a swimming fish, moving from the wrist to the neck, and suddenly strangled the ghost's neck. As the bracelet tightened, the ghost's facial features twisted and deformed, creaking, and a voice that did not belong to him came out of his mouth. I want a body, I want her body. Li Xuanchu recited the formula indifferently, stretched out the wooden sword and stabbed the man's chest, and the blood jade bracelet instantly came to his chest and held the wooden sword. I want to become an immortal, I want to become an immortal. I have sucked the blood of so many people for 300 years, just to become an immortal. You, an unknown Taoist priest, dare to stop me. Today, I will let you die here and become the foundation of my Taoist temple. Ha 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 ha, listening to his incantation-like words, I was worried about Li Xuanchu. I secretly pulled out a jade card from my chest. This is a life-saving card made by my master, and it is also a magic weapon that can kill evil things at critical moments. Li Xuanchu shouted, wishful thinking. I took out the emperor bell and threw it on his head. I turned around and threw out a few talismans and began to chant the formula. The blood jade bracelet wailed through the mouth of the ghost, it's so hot. It's so hot. Hee hee, I haven't seen this feeling for a long time. It's been 100 years, and you are still alive, Li Qinglian? This evil thing actually called my master's name directly. I pinched a formula to him, and he wailed, turned back and shouted at me, little girl, how dare you sneak attack me? When I defeat your senior brother, I will enjoy your beautiful body. I vomited, you are too greasy. This evil thing is more disgusting than the male lead of the idol drama I watched a few days ago. The sudden laughter gently cut through the air, and I looked up and saw that Li Xuanchu actually laughed. He could actually laugh. Li Xuanchu said, stay away. I walked to the side obediently and found that those souls also moved with me, which made my scalp numb. Gradually, the blood jade bracelet began to dominate the body of the ghost, and the mouth opened and closed and roared. Li Qinglian, the black-hearted old Taoist priest, would have died in the hands of this old man if I hadn't used the clone technique to escape. He is not dead yet? Ridiculous. Li Xuanchu rotated the wooden sword and stabbed him in the limbs. Don't be rude. Haha, the apprentices that old Manly took in are as boring as him. But this little girl makes me like her very much. After watching her in the live broadcast room for more than half a year, she is very suitable to be my container. I couldn't help but cover my ears and silently recite the Qingxingju in my heart. The live commentary also became busy. How can he be so greasy? Be a good evil creature. Host, did you vomit? I did anyway. Did he suck the blood of the Oil King? A funny horror movie, the villain dies because of talking too much. Let's end it quickly. Li Sun waved his long arm and shouted to me, Xiao Lu, chant the fire spell. I immediately ran over to stand beside him and started chanting the spell, and saw that the ghost's body suddenly burned. The souls connected behind him began to stir, as if trying to break free from the blood jade bracelet. I opened my eyes and saw their painful and desperate expressions. A memory appeared on the head of each soul. Some people received a blood jade bracelet when they got married, and died suddenly with their babies after getting pregnant. Some people spent money to buy a blood jade bracelet to honor their elders, but ended up destroying their families. Some people have never seen a blood jade bracelet, but because their ancestors were cursed, they foresaw death. It hurts. A sad female voice sounded behind my ear, hair brushed my neck, and cold lips pressed against my ears. You burned me so much. Li Xuanchu suddenly turned around and slapped me on the shoulder. I grimaced in pain, and when I looked back, a female ghost with long hair and red eyes was lying on my shoulder and smiling at me. I screamed, and reflexively grabbed her hair and pulled it hard, and threw it to the ground. I was scared to death. Making a ghost movie? I patted my chest and looked at the grinning female ghost on the ground. The clothes she wore were obviously not from this era, but the red wedding dress worn by ancient married ladies. The color was strangely red, and it was dripping with blood, as if it had just been fished out of a pool of blood. She slowly stood up, and Li Xuanchu stood in front of me. Finally forced out, I took a breath of cold air. It turned out that this was the true form of the evil blood Jade Bracelet. The female ghost smiled coquettishly. I am finally free. I have been trapped in the Jade Bracelet for so long, and you let me out, little Taoist priest. I was a little confused about this scene. The reason why the blood Jade Bracelet became an evil object was that it used human blood to nourish the jade. Therefore, it should be a collection of all souls. How could it be a person? She seemed to know what I was thinking, grinned, and explained, yes, the bracelet contains tens of thousands of souls whose blood I sucked dry. But I am the blood Jade Bracelet itself. The profiteer knew that I didn't want to marry him, so he lied to me that I would use blood to nourish the jade and sell it for money, and then give me half of the money earned, and then let me go. I was too stupid to believe it. But he thought it was too long, and I didn't cooperate so much. Then he imprisoned me in the room, mixed my flesh and blood with jade to cast a blood Jade Bracelet, and sealed my soul in this bracelet forever. I was horrified and my feet were weak when I heard it. The senior brother held me with one hand. The female ghost continued, he lied to me again that if I sucked enough blood, I could become evil and become a normal person. I cooperated with him to kill many people, hurt one person after another, and made money that I couldn't spend in my lifetime. The female ghost's miserable and shrill laughter resounded through the hall, crying and laughing like crazy. He cheated me. I hate him for all eternity. I want his reincarnation, his descendants, and all the ancestors related to him to die in my hands. I want to become an immortal. After she shouted, the souls of tens of thousands of people also wailed at the same time, and the sound waves were about to overturn the ceiling of the Taoist temple. So the number 108 in the mouth of the ghost, as I guessed, is not the number of people. It is the descendants of the profiteers for generations. If the blood is the same, they will be selected as blood weapons, and let the blood weapons kill the family members. Looking at this scene in front of me, I really want to call someone now. I feel that my senior brother and I can't stand it. Li Xuanchu suddenly turned around. Xiaolu, what are you doing? Chant the spell quickly. I was startled by the shouting, sat on the ground, closed my eyes, and started chanting the spell, more seriously than the exam. Tried to recall the hundreds of spells taught by my master. I could feel something floating towards me, rubbing against me, trying to break through my heart. But I, Shenlui, did not become a disciple through the back door. I quickly pinched a seal with my fingers, turned my palm and slapped it hard on the ground. The moment I opened my eyes, the black shadows that were attached to me were shaken away. I quickly pulled out the talisman paper and threw it at the black shadows, and they quickly burned and turned into ashes. I could burn to death. I got up excitedly and prepared to throw the talisman paper one by one, but I looked around and saw it everywhere. Li Xuanchu had already suppressed the female ghost, turned his head and shouted at me, Xiaolu, the Emperor Bell. I quickly looked down and saw the Emperor Bell rolling on the corner of the table. I ran over to pick it up, but it was picked up by a little kid, holding the heavy Emperor Bell in his two fat hands and smiling at me. Good baby, give it to me. He shook his head and stepped back. Be good, sister will let you free soon. The little boy still refused. My senior brother urged me. I had to pinch the seal, let go. After getting the Emperor Bell, I quickly returned to my senior brother. He pulled back the wooden sword and stabbed the female ghost in the head again. Open the big one. Yeah. The game radar opened in my mind. Open the second big one in the game, our skill. Li Xuanchu was silent for half a second, and even said with a slight smile, shake. I understood instantly, chanted a spell, and the Emperor Bell flew up from my hand, spun wildly above my head, shook the magic bell, and the gods and ghosts all admired it. I lowered my head, as if I saw myself standing in an open space, surrounded by tens of thousands of people, screaming and trying to break free, shouting, I want to get out, let me out, I'm in so much pain. At this time, my trouser legs suddenly tightened, and the little boy just raised his head, his eyes became black holes, which scared me and almost stopped chanting. I heard him say, Sister, play with me, sister, don't leave me, I will be obedient and wait for you to pick me up. Listening to his words, I seemed to enter a fantasy world. I saw a little boy with thick eyebrows and big eyes sitting on Shirtai Street, counting ants, with his chin in his hand. Behind him was a temple. Pedestrians coming in and out couldn't help but look back at him. After a long time, he suddenly stood up, turned his head and greeted the sister and read happily, "Sister, you finally came out." The girl took his hand and gently held it. Her right hand touched the top of his head. "Xiaochen, is he good?" The little boy nodded shyly. "I am very good, sister, let's go home quickly." On the way, the little boy complained that he didn't want to go to the private school. The girl gently said that Xiaochen wanted to study and grow up to be a man who stood up to the sky. "Sister promised you that she would pick you up every evening, okay?" Did my sister agree? "Yeah. We'll never change even if we make a promise for 100 years. The two of them left, talking and laughing, and I followed them back home. I saw a middle-aged man who looked 70% like the girl suddenly yelled at her, "You're going to get married tomorrow, and you're still running around, and you're taking Xiaochen with you. Are you asking for a beating?" "Dad." Xiaochen spoke for his sister first. "Don't blame my sister. I asked my sister to take me out to play. My sister is not wrong." "Shut up." The man angrily threw the teacup and ordered the servants outside. "Take the young master away." "I won't leave. My sister won't get married." "My sister is my wife. Xiaochen doesn't want to leave." Still saying outrageous words, the man was furious, kicked down a chair beside him and cursed, "Bastard, bastard. Take him away quickly." The boy was too young and had no strength, so he was dragged out of the hall by two servants. The girl wanted to go back and beg, but the man pulled her arm and yelled, "Qin Shuyu, I raised you for 14 years, not for you to seduce my son. Your mother is shameless, do you let her do what she wants?" The girl's face was pale, she knelt on the ground and trembled to apologize. "Master, you was wrong, you were never." To Xiaochen. The man shook the girl away, turned back to sit on the chair, panting, "Okay, you will marry Master Song tomorrow, go back and prepare now, and don't leave the room again. If there is any mistake, I can't do anything about your mother's illness." The girl burst into tears and kept kowtowing to the man to treat her mother well. But this man is obviously her father. Then the scene changed again. The girl was sitting in front of the bronze mirror in a red wedding dress, and her face was exactly the same as that of a female ghost. She suddenly raised her eyes and stared at me as if she saw me. "I feel a little dizzy. Are you using a beauty trap on me?" "I'm sorry, I only get mad at handsome guys." Just when I was about to break through the illusion, I suddenly felt a pain in my wrist. Li Xuanchu pulled me back from the illusion and blamed me, "Stupid Xiao Lu." He quickly wiped my head and said, "Keep chanting." Then he turned around and continued to deal with the female ghost. I cursed myself in my heart, then turned my head and looked, almost scared to death. The female ghost was covered with blood jade bracelets all over her body, shocking and weird, like that Christmas tree. She opened her bloody mouth and roared, "I want to become an immortal. I want you, Shenlui, to be my container. I want this Taoist temple to be my immortal residence, and no one can stop me." Wishful thinking. Li Sun sneered and rushed over with a wooden sword in hand. I continued to chant and shake the emperor bell, and finally worked together to subdue her. The hall was empty, leaving only us and the female ghost lying on the ground. Blood kept flowing from the corners of her mouth, and blood was sprayed from all parts of her body, and a pool of blood soon formed under her. "Haha, I want to become an immortal." Li Xuanchu lowered his head and asked, "Who told you that you can become an immortal by killing people?" The female ghost murmured to herself, "He lied to me, everyone is lying to me." Li Xuanchu wanted to burn her, but I stopped him. I walked over and squatted, calling out her real name, Qin Shuyu. I asked her, "Do you really want to become an immortal? Or do you want to go back to the past and see Xiaochen again?" She stopped talking in a trance, opened her eyes, and looked at me with empty eyes. I took a breath and slowly said, "Xiaochen died on the path where you got married." She stared at her bloodshot eyes and asked, "How do you know?" I sighed and replied to her, "He was by my side just now, grabbing my trouser legs and calling me sister." "He has been by your side all the time, don't you know?" Qin Shuyu suddenly panted violently, impossible. He can't be by my side. I don't know, I can't not know. This is impossible. She coughed up another mouthful of blood. Li Xuanchu pulled me away and said to her, it's over. Impossible, Xiaochen, Xiaochen. Qin Shuyu grabbed with both hands and tried to get up, but fell down again. I rarely saw such a tragic scene. I felt a little blocked when I saw it, and turned my head gently. Li Xuanchu took out the talisman paper from his arms, closed his eyes and chanted a few words, and the talisman paper lit up and fell on Qin Shuyu's body. Her body burned, and the blood on the ground also burned, and the fire was raging. Qin Shuyu was still calling that name, Xiaochen. Suddenly a clear child's voice sounded, sister. I looked at Qin Shuyu's expression in the fire, from shock to joy, and finally relief. Slowly closed my eyes. Sister, you come to pick me up. She heard it. The main hall of the Taoist temple fell into darkness again, cold and silent. I called, Li Xuanchu, Li Xuanchu? He didn't respond. I reached out and touched it, and suddenly touched a cold hand. My heart trembled, and I remembered the big white hand that hurt people. Is this thing still alive? Suddenly a cluster of flames lit up, and Li Xuanchu pinched the burning talisman paper, smiled faintly and asked, don't you call me senior brother? I calmed my mind and replied, senior brother. Li Xuanchu looked around and said, let's go. I said, bent down to pick up the magic weapon and the mobile phone that I had thrown on the ground a long time ago. I don't know when the live broadcast was interrupted, and the battery was less than 10%. We walked out of the Taoist temple and came to the car. The sky was gradually turning white. On the way, I asked Li Xuanchu, is the bracelet also burned? Li Xuanchu, I muttered, I want to take it back and make a small thing to sell on the small yellow car. Really, the bracelet in my hand flew away. Li Xuanchu had a dull expression, and suddenly turned around and asked, what is the small yellow car? I was stunned by the question, and seeing that he really didn't know, I explained it in a gibberish, e-commerce, online shopping, live broadcast. He seemed a little interested, but when he heard me invite him to live broadcast, he flatly refused. After returning home, I slept for a day and didn't go live until 8 o'clock in the evening. Everyone couldn't wait to know what happened that day. I told it again with a voice. Some praised me, and some scolded me. The screen suddenly went black halfway through. At first I could still hear the sound, but later I couldn't hear anything. I will be more professional in the future and buy a bracket to live broadcast. The anchor really succeeded in subduing the evil creature. I think it's fake. There are fake videos, and live broadcasts can also be fake. Everyone, just watch it for fun. TSK, what if I scare you to death? I chatted with them for a few words, and heard the next door hitting the wall with a hammer again, disturbing the neighbors in the middle of the night. Stop knocking. I shouted to the next door. I took my phone and sent a message in the community group, hammer, 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 you are the king of hammers? Hammer a coffin and sleep in it. After venting, I told everyone the next time to connect, and then turned off the live broadcast. I came to the living room and asked Li Xuanchu, who was sitting on the sofa leisurely drinking tea and watching Peking opera, brother, when are you leaving? I'll see you off. He looked up and said, I'm not leaving. I looked at him in surprise. Li Xuanchu suddenly turned his head and looked out the window and said, the person next door to you is dead. The end.